Vusi highlighted is in terms of national building regulations. There are certain other things that are difficult to comply with. With the high costs and the energy crisis that we have, in order for a building to comply with national building regulations, now you need to have ceilings, you need to have all the other bells and whistles, which could cost you anything between 30, 40 to 100,000 in order to make a house to comply with national building regulations. So energy crisis is also an issue. So the question really is, why can we not use a technology that would assist us, instead of us continuously adding on these other variables, which would end up with a product that is costly? Why can't we look at something which is innovative, like all the other products that have been shown today or yesterday, that would actually enable the delivery of a cost-effective product? And that's what we are looking at. So the main things that we want to be able to look at is, we want to look at designs that are not only complying in terms of a quality, but we're also looking at designs that are fast, designs that anybody should be able to utilize. Right? So if we look also at the labor force that we have, we are always talking, I think at the moment they are saying that unemployment is in the order of 34, close to 34%. Right? How can we actually have a technology that will enable our youth to participate in the industry? Right? So, colleagues, when we look at that now, I want to look at a case study of what we are actually investigating at the University of Johannesburg, as I said, in partnership with the Department of Science and Innovation and the Mampele Foundation. Right? So this case study, right, is, we look at our research problem statement. Our problem statement is to say, number one, can we find a technology that would enable us to build any product in the shortest time period? So time is number one thing. Number two, we are saying, let's look for a product which is cost effective. Number three, we want to look at sustainability. When we're looking at sustainability, we're looking at things like your carbon emissions, reduction in carbon emission, cost effective. And what is also very critical is, people misunderstand when you talk about costs. Right? There are two things that we need to be able to understand when you talk about costs. One is the cost of construction, your construction costs, vis-a-vis your life cycle costs. So when you ask a question, what is the cost of a product, right? Let's distinguish clearly, are we talking of a construction cost or are we talking of a life cycle cost? Right? What's the difference? Construction cost is when you are starting now with the construction, you do your foundation, top structure, roofing, etc., and you do your cost you evaluate and your cost of construction. Your life cycle costing, you are looking at the whole process, from material characterization, logistics, cost of construction, maintenance, carbon emissions, all those things, you add them up together, and that is your life cycle costs. Right? So when you are looking at a cost of a product, don't start by actually asking what is the actual cost of construction, but you must be able to ask what is the life cycle cost, so that you are able to compare apples to apples. Time must be. Right? So cost of construction vis-a-vis life cycle cost is one of those things that we need to be looking at. We are also looking at quality. What is the quality of the final product? And that is also a very critical thing. Right? So to me, what we are passionate about is actually looking at products or innovations where we utilize the youth. Right? So currently, construction is actually associated as being dirty, being dangerous, a long time for people to have. If you are going to look at it, the construction costs or your implementation costs for a solar will probably be in the order of 200,000 plus minus. But if you are going to look into the long-term savings, you then find then that to install your solar panels will give you benefits in the long term. But unfortunately, people, when they look at a cost, then they are saying, no, but I want to benefit today, and they are not interested in the long-term cost savings. Right? So the reduction in the energy poverty, we are in the crisis of energy at the moment. We need solutions that would address energy poverty. But most importantly as well, we need solutions that are going to address health and productivity. We do not want to be on a site, we do not want products that to affect our own health and the general living conditions of people. Right? So, colleagues, what we then we can proceed to the next slide. What we then want in terms of doing this project, which is the case study that we are looking at 3D printing, we want to explore the potentials of using 3D printing technology in South Africa. So our mandate is then to say, let's look at local materials, let's pilot the 3D printing of houses in South Africa. Like any other technology, we also want to study the social acceptability of the product. Right? Because again, you can come up with any technology, but at the end of the day, if nobody is actually interested in that, if it still has all those knock-on effects, the product is not really acceptable. So we need to be able to look at social acceptability, but we also need to be able to look into the cost and the long-term benefits of these products. All right? So, if you can go to the next slide. All right? So, why construction 3D printing? Then probably the question is that, right? Why is construction 3D printing? We want to rethink how we design and manufacture houses. Right? So now I'm now putting into an area where it says, forget about the way in which we normally do our construction. Let's rethink how we design. Let's rethink how we manufacture a house. Let us have a mindset which would shift from mass production to mass customization. What do I mean? Let's not have all houses that are box match. Let an individual say what they want in terms of their house. I do not want a box match house. I want a circular house. I want a house which has got curvilinear shape. I want all like what you see on the drawing on the computer. If the curve is 2 meters, it will also produce a 2-meter curve. All right? So if I can just go back one slide before this. All right. That on the left-hand side there is the picture of the printer. That is the robot printer. All right. So that robot printer there is, you can see, I don't know if there is a person there on that printer, right, behind there. Right? But that is possibly more than 3 meters high. So we are capable of actually printing this specific wall here, which is probably about 3 meters high. Right? And you're able to print that. So right. So is construction 3D printing new? I don't know from that side, can you press that video just to play on that video? It is actually depositing one layer on top of the other layer. By the time it comes, so it goes through, it makes one circular. By the time it comes back to deposit the next layer, that layer must be strong enough for it to put the next layer and the next layer on top, and it completes the house. And that is actually the concept of 3D printing. Right? If you can go now to the next slide, right? And then let's then show in the real. Right. So let's start now with the left. If you can do on the left one, beginning of printing, right? So now, at the beginning of the printing, we have set up the computer. We have told the computer this is how you're actually going to print. Right? That's a video. Can you play the first video? No, if you click on that video, then there should be just go into the presentation. Go into the presentation. Yeah, just go to the presentation and then you click on the photograph itself. Then they should right. Go to the next one. Yes, just go onto the there and then press play.
The computer program but it doesn't need to hold anything. One thing is when you are taking the wall, the information never goes like this. Then comes back. You know why? Otherwise, another wall. And coming to what is what? What happened
After 5
What time are we starting? You want more? 5 players, 4 players.
I don't think it's 4 layers. I think it's doing the second layer. But I'm saying 4 layers. This is the second layer. Yeah, it's going to do the last one. So you need to make this more technicality. Like when there's 4 layers left, but the last back. You see, everybody's saying 2 layers, but this is the last layer. One more.
Videos done by postgraduate students at the University of Johannesburg. These are done by the youth who have never been on a construction site their entire lives, and they built a house in 8 hours. Right? So you are able to actually impact skills to the youth, and they're able to construct a building without necessarily, you still have your manicure and your pedicure, and you're able to still print a house. All right? If we can go to the next next slide. Right. So that one there is then the typical 40 square meter building done in about 40. You can see the corners, we made them in a particular shape, stretching the printer, stretching the crepe to say, can you do whatever I want to do? Yes, you can do so. Right? Whatever shape, what you see on the computer is what you do. Right? Further to this, you can go to the next slide. Further to this, just play on that one there. Right? Students were even playing around with benches. Say to me, I want a house which is secular, I do it. Right? I want the one which is a box mesh, so be it. Right? Put some dimples, and I do not have a video there, put some dimples on the wall, and our students have come up with certain dimples on the walling, which can take you many, many days, if not weeks, for you to come up with such type of dimples, but we can do it in 5 minutes. Right? So we are now saying, this is the revolution. This is where we are supposed to be going. Right? Do not now just specify and build the conventional way of actually doing the construction. Next slide, please. Thank you. And people talk about then saying, hey, job opportunities, and I like it when NHBRC mentioned about job creation and said clearly, is the technology going to take jobs away from people? The answer is no. You must first of all look at the whole value chain of delivering up the houses. All right? Some of our students are working on waste materials, your plastic bottles. Right? We crush them up, and we come up with new technologies and new ways of building with recycled plastic materials. And when you are looking at recycled plastic materials, you are creating jobs upstream. Right? But one of the things also that we look at, our foundation system is still conventional. Our roofing system is still conventional, and your finishes, your lights, and they are still using local labor. So there are certain aspects that we've left in terms of our research for local labor to do so. But believe me not, just like you started off with a Nokia many, many years ago, and now you are into the iPhone, whether we like it or we don't, in the future, foundations, walling systems, roofing systems will be 3D printed. All right? So that is actually coming through. You can go to the next one. All right? So what is our way forward? All right? Yes, it has been mentioned earlier on. Just produce the other photograph there. Just press on. No, yeah, right. It's still coming on. We still need to be able to check for fit for purpose. Right? NHBRC did mention that, yes, you must have a rational design. Yes, you must have an AGROMA certification. So the product must be fit for purpose. Right? We are going through the process of making sure that the product, our product, is also fit for purpose. It must go through all the certification, all the performance testings as highlighted by NHBRC. He mentioned fire, he mentioned acoustics, durability, all those things the product must also go through. So as we are talking now, the product is in fire and being explored, and we believe then that the technology will meet all the requirements before we actually deploy it on the ground. So it must also comply with all the necessary building regulations. It must be fit for purpose. Right? Please go on to the last one. So where to from here? A few things that we are going to do. We have started engaging with several provincial departments of human settlements, and we are glad to be here today to share with you some of the things that we are going to do. We want to be starting to create smart villages in provinces. And a smart village in the province, when we are looking at this concept of a smart village, we are not only saying that 3D printing is the only way of delivering houses. This two-day session has indicated that there are other technologies, and we acknowledge that there are other technologies that could also perform. As long as they perform and are fit for purpose, they've been AGROMA certified, those technologies are also fit for purpose. So we need to start looking at a smart village, and that smart village must have all these different types of technologies, more or less similar to Eric Molobi, but looking at it from a smart perspective. Smart in the sense then that, one, there must be smart security, smart lines, smart water harvesting, smart infrastructure, your stormwater system, your water systems, all those kind of things. Let's now migrate from the conventional way of delivering sustainable human settlements, but sustainable smart villages. And that is where we are actually going. And we would want to engage further with this province in order for us to assist you in ensuring then that you start to deliver smart villages. If we go through the next one. So what are the requirements for a smart village? We are tired of this one house here. Let's look at solutions. I like during tea break, I was talking to someone, they said, let's talk about solutions. Right? Let's not talk about piloting and having one house. Let's implement and let's ensure then that we deliver quality houses. Right. In conclusion, colleagues, if you can put the last slide. In conclusions then, we believe from the academia side that research is essential in advancing the delivery of quality houses. We at the University of Johannesburg, in partnership with the Department of Science and Innovation and the Mampele Foundations, we believe then that we are going to deliver and we are going to assist the country in delivering sustainable, innovative solutions. Let's start to implement, and we are here to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahaji. That's very interesting. No more matched boxed houses. If you want a circular house, you can have it. If you want a curved house, you can have it. If you want dimples on your wall, you can have it. So nothing is impossible. Imagine us building houses in 8 hours, producing a house every 8 hours. This backlog will be the thing of the past. How interesting. Do we still have contractors in here? Are we ready to embrace this new technology? Northwest will no longer talk about housing backlog and so on when we have technology like this. And Dr. Mahaji, be assured, we will continue to talk. You will have to come and print one house in the Northwest. We'll get you a partner, a construction company that will partner with you to come and print maybe closer to one of our universities, either in Mafeking or in Potchefstroom, so that the research can continue. Okay? Having taken those three presentations, I will now open the floor for questions based on the presentation by the National Department of Human Settlement, Dr. Marimbe, another presentation by my former colleague, Vose Hartley, from NHBRC, and Dr. Mahachi's presentation. I'll call to the podium Chief Director Tsepo Petlu to come and deal with the question sessions.
Good morning, colleagues. Mine is very simple, just to deal with questions and answers. I don't think you are expecting answers from me. Please don't expect answers from me. Now, the rules of the game. 1, we are not going to repeat questions. That's number 1. Number 2, if you happen to go out, when you come back, ask the person sitting next to you whether the question that you intend to ask has been asked, so that you don't repeat that question. Number 3, we are going to be short and to the point. And please, this is not a political meeting. Don't start with a mantra. Right. We've got 3 presentations that have been made. One by the Department of Human Settlement, one by NHBRC, and one by Dr. Mahachi, the 3D house. Now, I know I've got a very brilliant audience that do not have questions. Oh. We'll take questions from that side first. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 going. No, we'll come to this side. We'll come to this side. 1 going, 2 going, 3 going for that side. Brothers and sisters. Okay, no, it's fine.
Yes. Okay, can you hear me? Very quickly. Very impressed these 2 days. We've seen so many wonderful ideas of different ways of solving our problems. But there's one aspect that I think is missing. South Africa overall is short of water. We have water shortage. And we continue to push potable drinking water down the lavatory. I've yet to see any cost-effective, innovative sewage disposal system that we developers can use for new greenfields housing projects. Any ideas?
Sorry. Take it easy. Get ready to respond. I will call you to respond. Next question.
Thank you. I want to thank for presentation and congratulations on your latest project, the Net Zero House or the Net Zero Building. As the SIGA Innovation Hub, we are in the process of developing a Net Zero House for our smart city. So my question is to ask, besides being invited to the launch of the building when you do so, can you share the design specification with our engineers and architects so that we all work together in expediting that process? Thank you.
That is a question directed to Dr.
Hartley,
Mahachi.
NHBRC.
To Dr. Mahachi. Oh, it's for you. Oh, NHBRC. Okay, the last one from that side.
Thank you. This is not a real question, just to seek clarity. The question is for the NHRBC. I got an understanding NHRBC is a national home builder regulator. One of my colleagues asked me a question sometime, I couldn't answer him. Is there a need when you are doing, like, for example, civil engineering services to register with NHRBC? I thank you.
All right. Sir, now you can respond. Does that respond to question one relating to your sewer systems?
Yeah, the water recycling unit that you could put in the house in order to avoid that you use fresh, smart drinking water to flush a toilet is called the HydroLoop. And the HydroLoop is a system that recycles the house internally, cleans it with all kinds of technologies like microbubbling and ultraviolet cleansing. And then the water within the house is used and used and used 4 times before it actually uses the last part of the water, which is then flushed to the toilet. So you don't use fresh water to flush a toilet, you use the last part of the water waste to flush the toilet. So you basically save 75% of your water by recycling it in the house.
Yeah, but I thought water is generally recycled. You go to the toilet.
But normally you take fresh water, flush the toilet. And now what happens, the system is actually integrated into the house. So when you use water from the kitchen, it goes back into the system. And then it then goes to, for example, to the washing machine. And once it's done with the washing machine, it gets cleaned again and then goes to the toilet. And then, you know, and so on and so on. So you save a lot more water before you actually waste it.
Yes, no, I know that, yes. Yes. NHBRC, you've got 2 questions, but just a comment on this one. I thought water, we recycle water. You go to the toilet, you help yourself, you flush the toilet, it goes to the municipality, they clean it, they bring it back to the house. NHBRC. NHBRC, you've got 2 questions.
Thank you, sir. On the first question on net zero house, the designs will be brought by the system designer. So what we do at NHBRC, we will look into the materials that you're going to use in order to calculate the use of energy. As it is a requirement and compulsory by the municipalities now to calculate the amount of energy that you use. Now at NHBRC we say, bring us a system that can make sure that it counteracts the amount of energy that you use or that gets lost through your foundations, through your doors, through your ceiling, and through the roof. So what we do is only checking the parameters that are there. Hence I say, be innovative. We've got system has been approved by Agrima. Check which ones is good for you, make your calculations, and bring it forth. Then it will be approved as a net zero. Because we have instruments that we use that will calculate the amount of energy lost and energy gained into the building. So it's a question of professionals being innovative. So we are just piloting it so that they can see that it is possible. So if it's done by NHBRC, everybody else can do it. We have so many systems in the house right now. So if they can combine those systems to make sure that we use less energy, including the HydroLoop that he's just talking about, will also be factored into using minimum, because we are looking at sustainability. And then the second question, NHBRC, yes, does register engineers, but mainly those that deals with the structure of the house. In terms of services, I think those are municipal issues, and you can register with EXA and then to do municipal services. In terms of the housing services, that deals with the architect and the plumbers and the tradespeople. But As an engineer, we do not compel you to design services in a township from NHBRC. By the time a township is registered, those services are already there. So we want to see what type of soil are you building that house. That's what we're interested in. The type of the structures that you put in, the roof, and so on and so on. The things that you sign as required by A19 of the municipality in terms of the building regulation. Thank you.
All right. Okay, this side. 1, 2, going once, going twice, going thrice.
Good morning. This is a question for Dr. Mahaji. I just want to understand the life cycle cost of the 3D printing. Do you include the printer cost as well as the setup and the assembling of the printer? And if you do, how many houses do you need to print to recover the cost in that scenario? Thank you.
Here. Here.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Zimbini Mdlulwa from DART, Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. I was wondering, I've seen the presentation, some talking about green village, some about smart villages. And we also talked about developing these innovations so that our communities or beneficiaries, they don't sell their house. So one of the reasons sometimes when we interact with the people who sell these houses is I stay in this nice house, but I have nothing to fill to eat. So in the spirit of collaborative interventions, when we create the villages, we also intend, we are working on making agriculture smart to our youth, that we must have provision for such innovations also when we create the villages, for smart interventions that our beneficiaries can use to also generate other means so that they live a holistic, better life. So I'm extending an invitation to our department to also collaborate with the Department of Agriculture on seeing what smart agricultural initiatives can be built within the initiative of the smart. Thank you.
Thank you. That is a comment and an edge to the department. I'm going this side now. Let's hear this. I know these are very nice people. They would not ask a question. Very nice. Going once, going twice, going thrice. I'm going back to the, because I'm closing now. If you have an afterthought, this side, going once, going twice, going thrice, this side. Going once, going twice, going thrice. My beautiful people, this side. You see, I told you. Going once, going twice, going thrice. Thank you, HOD.
Thank you very much, Mr. Petlo. You see, he needed to take that segment to make it more interesting and exciting. We are moving on to session 5, continuing with ABT research, ABT solutions, skills development programs, and investment opportunities. At this stage, I'd like to find out if Mr. Shedwick from Department of Water and Sanitation has sent a representation. If you are here, sent by him, please come and see me. We will now move on and take the Northwest Housing Corporation presentation by Bishop Sello Mogodire.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. O kgonne go e loader? Are you winning? Batho ba le ba basadi. Ke tsamaisa fo kae? Fa. Sure. Kanti ba basadi tlhagisa. Sure. Thank you very much, all stakeholders, HOD, and all protocol observed. I see you are with your lawyer there, you are signing agreements. Thank you very much. We are from the Northwest Housing Corporation. We would like to make a 7-minute presentation on what is our value add in the provision of solution for housing and shelter and human settlements in the Northwest Province. We have come with a very ambitious program of megacities, because Northwest is the only province that have not been able to build a new megacity. So we would like to build them. Of course, we build them with the private sector. Now, the opportunities for houses and the need for new housing solution have been tested through the feasibility studies. We need to address the current housing backlog. There's rapid population growth. There's general high demand for accommodation. there's the inequality and exclusion associated with the apartheid special planning and development need to be addressed by a deliberate effort. They are the socio-economic benefits of the megacities. But just for your sanity and clarity, we have conducted feasibility studies on the advice of Treasury, and Treasury have also advised us to appoint a transactional advisor, which we have done. So there's no question about the need for new human settlements in the Northwest Province. What we are dealing with now is to look for funding for bulk infrastructure. Bulk is owned by government. It's not owned by the private sector. The private sector can bring money to finance the bulk, and the government needs to work out the modalities to refund that bulk. So we have identified Taung mega project, Mafikeng mega project, and also the 10,000 student accommodation in Mafikeng, the mega project in Potchefstroom, which the HDA have already started working on, and sufficient work by the HDA have already been completed. So there is no contradiction whether there's a need for mega cities or not. And like I've said, the feasibility studies have confirmed that. There's one needed in the Marikana precinct, Mohwase precinct, Brits and Lanseria mega project, Rustenburg. So we are looking at a total of 59 billion rand to be for all those mega projects. That include bulk infrastructure, roads and top development as per the feasibility studies. So we have submitted business plans to Infrastructure South Africa so that we are able to start rolling out the infrastructure development. We are looking at different typologies, and these areas have already been identified and gazetted by Minister Sisulu as restructured zones. So the land have already been identified. There are areas where, like Bakubung, they have also started with their private sector initiative. As government, we need to bring all the stakeholders together so that there is services to the people. And those are the portions that were identified by the feasibility studies, and some lands have been confirmed by the municipalities. So we support the alternative building technology, HOD, and we will be recommending it. But the people who provide this solution of alternative housing building technology, do they regard it as a superior solution to brick and mortar? Are your offices built with alternative building technology? The houses you stay in yourselves, are they so superior that they deserve to be given to anybody else? Do you stay in your house that is alternative building technology? So that we are able to say to the public, we're not giving you something of lesser standard than where we stay. So we need to lead by example as the private sector. But clearly, HOD, there's a need to research on, to fund research and development of alternative building technology, so that we are able to mitigate all the risks related to construction of the alternative building technology. The only thing that frustrated us from yesterday morning, there is no clear cost benefit. Where you are saying, government, you are building the RDP with a brick and mortar for 45 squares at a cost of 200 million. We can give you 60 squares. There need to be clarity that can sway business decision in the public interest while you balance it with your profit. Remember, the mind always rejects a new thing. So we need to work hard to be able to sway the traditional tested brick and mortar. So today is Saturday, that's our value add. Thank you, HOD.
Thank you, Bishop Eli Mohodere, for presenting to us what the departmental entity, Northwest Housing Corporation, wants to do in order to add value to what the department is giving in the Northwest. Those mega cities that the entity is planning, I believe we still have investors in here and other investors connected that will come on board to assist for the Northwest to realize all the housing units and the human settlements they want to develop. You raised quite interesting questions at the end there. And I think in his introduction, Dr. Mahaji mentioned that, you know, brick and mortar is, has been tested, it's trusted, but we have to go beyond that and begin to look at other ways of delivering faster, quicker, sustainable human settlement. At this stage, and we also take into cognizance the comment from the Department of Agriculture. We were trying to get the Canadians online again today. They still are not able to present. When they are able to link with the department again, we will definitely engage the Department of Agriculture, because in their green village, there's a portion of land that will be segregated for agricultural activities. There will be a portion of land that they will build industries processing the agricultural produce, so that instead of exporting our raw agricultural produce, we begin to process internally. Within that village, you will have the industries which will provide employment opportunities and also assist the communities to live a better life. It's a very interesting model. It encompasses various things. That is why MTN is featuring as well as part of ICT in this conference to come and address us in terms of their contribution to human settlement development. May I call MTN to come forth and make a presentation? Sorry, I do not have a name on the program.
Good. Is it still morning? Good morning, everyone. My name is Lawrence Juku Fori. And if I was in Eastern Cape, I would have introduced myself as Pumzile, as the name given to me by my grandmother. But I go by the name of Lawrence everywhere. Thank you very much, HOD, and for the opportunity to present and talk in this exciting session. As the MEC said, it's a working conference. Okay, Ehulu, the big one. Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it's best to start, as the first part of the slide is saying right now, is smart cities. And smart cities, just give me a second. You know, we work with technologies and dual site so that you are able to run through. So just give me a second. I want just to come to this level. Right. It just makes it easy for me. I don't have to turn my head all the time and looking on the screen. So the future is now with 5G. And if you had an opportunity to see and travel and experience some of the connected cities and the smart cities across the world, you would know that connectivity is key to the success of those cities, from autonomous vehicles, from a whole range of other solutions, from smart parking, that you find there, connectivity becomes key. Is really to start and say 5G is now and is the future. But as you're sitting there, you then ask yourself and say, well, MTN is standing in front of us and saying this is the future, connectivity is the future to drive smart cities, smart agri, smart villages. But I'm experiencing challenges right now. And our comment to you is that as we stand today, we are all facing the same challenge, which is energy availability. As we know, Sputla and the crew are working very hard to make sure that that problem is resolved. As MTN, we've already gone into very, very extensive exercise and initiatives as part of our network resilience to ensure that this connectivity that we talk about is maintained. This connectivity that we talk about, you experience it so that you are able to consume and use the services. So we currently are running very big projects right across Bujanala and other places of network resilience, whereby we are now making sure that we're increasing the availability. So you can imagine right now, your load shedding maybe might have been 2 or 3 hours. Now it could run as much as 6 to 8 hours. How do you ensure that? So batteries are being increased. The time that it allows us to be able to cover for the outage. We have increased our generator capacity in terms of mobile generators, static generators, even to the alternative energy, which is solar power in our sites, as part of the initiatives that we want to drive going forward. Okay. Thank you. So that is where we start. But I think the most important thing maybe to start with is where we are today. It's been an interesting time for the last 2 days here. I think one thing that we and we've been talking smart villages as part of the concept, but these discussions we're having are happening in an environment whereby I have a mother or family or cousins that are in a village. I have friends that are sitting go Orange Farm or any other township who have to, in parallel what we're saying, also need to feel that they are not being left behind when these smart cities are being spoken about. And that's why we say, you know, as from Deloitte that says, we are currently in parallel have to think and develop smart cities and also not leave the people that we have today, the conditions that we have today behind. So why are we saying that? It's because what drives change? Change is driven by pain points. Change is driven by innovation. Change is driven by things that we feel there's a better way of doing something. So when you look into where we are, right now, if you've seen recently in the news, was it Gauteng MEC? I think it's Mzee Khumalo. He had gone out and talking about a panic button, which is part of what? Part of the journey towards smart city. To say, as there's an app that you can have and you can have a panic button. Now, what is it doing? It's addressing the point, as you see on the screen, that says, all cities, villages, communities have a shared common pain points that we have, whether it's education, whether it's social development, whether it's communication. And if you look at education, for instance, I mean, we just came from COVID. Now, what did COVID show us? COVID showed us that the child in the village needs to have exactly the same access to education as a child sitting Komabopane, or a child sitting Ko Centurion, as a child sitting Ko Rustenburg, in a city where there's connectivity. Why? Because the environment and the conditions in terms of the pandemic, it created that situation that says, to the point that was just made, much as we move with technology, we cannot leave our communities behind. It must be an inclusive movement right through. And so, as a result, you find that those are the shared points that we have right across. Now, although we focused, just want to get this one through. Okay, it's not moving forward at the moment. But anyway, let me continue. Although the discussion today is really talking around smart cities, one of the things that I want to put across to the audience today is that as MTN, you see us as connectivity, you see us and you see, you know, can I get my data card, can I get my phone? But we are moving, and we have been moving from being a telco to a techo. And I just want to touch on the points around other things that we're doing. Now, Mayor spoke earlier on about villages and how we create economies in the villages. Now, as policymakers, some of you in the room here, it is important that we cannot drive policies that says we know the challenge that urbanization is creating, which is informal settlements around work opportunities. We want to keep people also in the villages. So one of the things that you probably might have known, but it's our duty to actually point it out to you today, is that as MTN, we also provide IoT solutions around agriculture, smart agri, smart farming, precision farming. Because why? We realize that it's important that you create this smart agri economy, because in any case, agricultural economy will always be in those outlying areas as opposed to be hardcore urban areas. So we have solutions that we provide there. So if you look in a holistic view, we are able then to say to you, as MTN, with all the role players that are here, how do we then help you to create and deliver solutions in your space? Smart agri, smart cities, and it's not about connectivity, it's about solutions. So recently I was at Nampo in Free State, where we were taking through the industry in terms of the solutions that we are providing across the sector. And it's part of the broader smart village, smart agri, smart cities that we are driving as part of our solution suite. And just to pass on that point, on other additional solutions that we provide, fleet telematics is part of the solutions, smart mining. Some of the mines that you have around here would have solutions that we as MTN are providing and assisting with other partners in the market to drive that. And I think the last part, I meant, Bishop just said now around, and also NHBRC, around fit for purpose. Now, this building that we are in today, as here in Sun City, those that are in facilities management would understand. Why are we comfortable in this room today? It's because as part of the smart building, which is part of the solutions that we are providing as MTN, we currently, I mean, I'm talking, obviously it's not us now doing this in this building, but I'm just giving an example. As we're sitting here, there's sensors and monitors that are making sure that the aircon in this room is at optimal level. As you walk around the building, you have security cameras, you have all different sensors and monitors that are part of the IoT solutions. And that's part of the things that we also provide in the broader context of what MTN is providing into the market. So, to move forward, I think the one point that we just want to make sure, I'm just going to go back onto this slide. On the slide in front of you, now, smart cities are not in isolation. And the journey towards smart city obviously starts in the most basic things. In front of you here, you have what are the things that drive and are dimensions of a smart city? Obviously, Bishop here just said something very interesting. He said they have an ambition to create mega cities. So there's certain goals that we have as private sector, as government, that says we want to drive this. And obviously, in there, there's people. I'm a citizen. Today, I'm in Northwest. I might not be a citizen of the Northwest region, but I'm here, I could be a tourist because out of here I could be going to the Pilanis and then I'm taking a drive into the game reserve. How do you help me as that tourist to experience in terms of the smart city? So now you see today, those, if you drive around and you notice, you know, as an IoT man, when I look around, I see things. So if you drove down from here towards the gate, what did you see? You saw new adverts sitting on poles where Sun City is saying, I'm going cashless. Now, those are all the solutions that are driving what? A journey towards smart city, but it's a journey that also drives the convenience and the people that are living within that city. But if you look into where it goes into, you have to create the ecosystems. From there, you have to obviously then have, how are we experiencing? So if you take, for instance, now, as part of the broader smart city, smart village, smart working, I'm sitting as a house owner, I'm sitting as an employee in the office, whether it's a Department of Human Settlements. Now, part of the solutions that we are providing in the broader smart city and smart government, because obviously once you put smart city, you cannot leave smart government, because you cannot leave smart services, because these are interlinked. As part of that broader solution that you have there is that now sitting as an employee, as part of the smart government, as part of the smart city, why would I not be having solutions that allow me to even run basic things like my leave form online? And these are all the solutions that we are providing as part of the broader smart city, whereby you are able to even measure and monitor employee engagements. You know, if anything that COVID has shown us, post-COVID, you know, I had a chat with a colleague and he said something profound, that post-COVID, one of the things that we maybe are not paying attention to in the working environment, which is part of the smart working environment, part of the smart cities, is people's mental state. And now, when you look into the broader smart city concepts, as an employee within a Sun City complex or as an employee within a government building, we are able then to then say, here's an employee engagement solutions that we provide, so that as an employer, you are able to gauge and understand where your employees are at. These again are part of the smart city. We're making smart city to be something you can touch and feel and live through, as opposed to be a concept that sometimes we speak about. So if I just want to move forward onto sometimes the cursor just seems not to move. Now, this statement encompasses everything that we're touching on right now. Smart cities will enable smart choices and smart outcomes. And at the core of that is really, and please understand me, when I'm speaking smart cities, I'm speaking interchangeably including smart villages, because it's important that we drive that understanding right across the sector in terms of what you want to do and where you want to go. But coming to this point on the screen, Bishop spoke about all the mega projects that are there. It's important that funders, developers, government, telco companies as ourselves, MTN, to have a holistic and a joint view around that. Now, why is that imperative is that when we build and create these cities, infrastructure obviously is key to it, but these cities are going to be lived by people. So connectivity and how we create how the city is going to be lived by the people is very, very critical. So you look at it now, you would have seen KZN and other places, developers like Calgro, M3 and other people, and they create these cities as we want to do in mega cities. Like, for instance, Bishop was talking about the student residential smart city. Now, what is going to be key in a student residential smart city? The students want to live in that place. And what is going to happen there? They're going to need fast connectivity. They're going to need access to educational facilities. They're going to need to do research. And much as we don't like it as parents, these young kids also want entertainment. So they want to ensure that if they want to open a content information or content creators, as some of them are, how do you enable that city for those students to be able to live through? And those are the things that we really are pushing and driving forward. And key to that is really what we're showing you on the screen that says all these services. And I mean, right now, I have not even touched on some of the elements that they seem far-fetched, but they're actually not far-fetched. The smart health. How do I, in a village hospital, be able to assist and do operation assisted by a professor sitting or UP? That is part of the broader smart city and broader smart health that is critical and is required. And to the point that we're saying is that these things should not be too far. They are today. You saw 3D printing. I mean, I'm following 3D printing online on YouTube and everywhere else. I've seen buildings. And today it was amazing to see that right next door, Go UJ, it's happening. Because things are moving that fast. And I think it would not be proper for us as MTN not to touch on this point, because also the audience that we have here. As municipalities that are sitting here, one of your key drivers is you need to give services to people, but to bill. And one of the key issues that you always face is, how do I provide services when I cannot get money, revenue, from the same people that I'm supposed to give services to? And what we're showing you, following on what I said earlier on, is that we are not voice and data. We are solutions across, supported by our core network, which is voice and data. One of the things that we're doing very well, and we have quite a few projects that we're doing, is around revenue enhancement and utilities solutions, whereby we provide smart utilities solution, which is smart metering, smart management from water and electricity. And I always make an example like this to make it also very practical for some of the people. In the Munich space right now, when you get funding from government that says roll out infrastructure. Now, you roll out infrastructure, then say, how do I get the money? You get smart meters. You also have people that are doing, you have indigents. And the value that we're providing here across is that we have platforms, we have projects, and we provide solutions together with the local team, Tapel and the team that is here, whereby we can sit down and help you to put a smart metering, smart utilities solution for you, focusing on revenue growth. And it's not just about hardware and equipment, but it's about the overall system. One example I always want to make is that property valuations that are happening within a municipality are part of the rates and taxes that you collect. Now, if I have a house, or there's 100 of us whereby the house used to be under my grandmother's name, and it was declared indigent, and I've taken over the house, and Lawrence can afford, and he suddenly takes this house and he builds it and he makes it double story. In your evaluation role, what do you have that house as at? You're having it as a RDP, or you have it as an indigent home. You're losing on those rates and taxes. The solutions that we're providing provide that solution that says, I'm able now using cadastral information, valuation role, and also information that comes from other sources to then say, hey, these properties are actually now valued this way, your rates and taxes should be adjusted accordingly. So across there, we're saying, talk to us, talk to the team locally. We are able to come and sit down with you and work with you in creating those smart utilities solutions. And that goes across water and electricity, and including smart buildings. Everyone that is sitting here today lives in a building each and every day at work. How do we make that building smart for you? We have solutions that we can provide for you to be able to derive value. And one of the things that, and it was touched on earlier on around sustainability. You are currently required, companies, government is currently required to say, what are you doing as part of the ESG? And we are providing solutions that can create platforms and solutions and sensors and IoT that will then give you this kind of reporting in terms of where you are and carbon footprint. I think my last slide, and then Tapelo, my colleague, then will come through just to show you some of the key things. He will touch much closer onto that. SmartGov is key to deliver services to people, to deliver services to communities, and we provide a whole suite of solutions that are fit for purpose for you, where we can sit down and work with you in terms of your pain points and be able to bring it across from all the solutions, whether it's one of the other things that was touched on yesterday. I think was one of the speakers was talking and acknowledging contractors as the extended arm of the government to deliver services. Now, we have experienced that. Projects that are not completed and then money has been paid, or contractors complaining that I've done the work and I've not been paid, and then they come to HOD and HOD goes to the manager and the manager says, yeah, but the invoice I told you 3 months ago. And they're like, why didn't you pay it? No, it got lost in the process. Now, part of the solution suite that we're providing is around there. Contract management, invoice management. We know of cases, we've experienced these things as well, whereby a service provider who is critical, for instance, in a hospital environment, contract expiry maobane. And today, we need those meds. And then emergency procurement comes in, and those then who know, then AG then comes after you and says, oh no, this thing is going to expire, so why didn't you react? And part of the solution suite that we're providing is around contract management, so that you get notification, you get planning as part of those solutions going forward. So I think in a nutshell, what we wanted to show you is we are beyond what you know as data and connectivity. We provide broader solutions across in terms of the IoT and other solutions in terms of where we are building these smart cities. My brother, take it over. He's going to show you something that links to what we're talking about. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I won't take long. All I'm going to give you is a food for thought on how we can actually utilize technology to deal with some of the simplistic workloads that we may have in order to make sure that we become efficient in what we do. So part of the process, by the way, all protocol observes. Look at me jumping in. It's again, MTN again. Let me correct myself this time. All protocol observed. So what we've done is we've went and looked at how do we use simplistic technology to achieve things that us and make us much more efficient. And many of us know that if you don't have data in your bank, in your phone, you can still access your bank app and transact in that space. So we've developed a simplistic data collection application, Ribitsa Riadira, right, which seeks to be a go in between those that are in the cold phase of the communities. In this instance, let's talk about your ward committee members, or it could be community development workers, who are in the cold phase, who are the ones that are a great interaction between government and so they sit in the middle for that. So we've developed a simplistic app, and I'll log into it to show how it works. So the way it works, this simplistic application, it is a data collection tool that sits at the back of what we call reverse bill URL. So it doesn't matter what network you actually utilize or the end user, and let's assume in this instance the end user is your ward committee member that sits out there. So whether they use Telkom, MTN, Vodacom, Cell C, whichever network that they use, they will be able to access and consume the systems that are sitting there. And most importantly, you don't require to pay any license on this thing because you only pay for what you consume. So you literally pay for per megabyte that you utilize when you access the system. So, and in this instance, let us assume that I am a ward councillor in this instant, and I have to log something from the community. I need to get a name of somebody. Let me just give a fictitious name, right? Gerekagiso Budibe is a citizen that is logging a simplistic thing. I need phone number. HOD kitse ya. Okay. Kikupa number ya somebody. Kitse ya. Okay. There's a number here. 083. Yeah. Okay. Right. And then let's assume. Oh no, okay, we're in the wrong place. We're in the wrong place. Okay, MTN, it's going to be easier to deal with. Okay, right? Oh, I done it correctly. All right. And then this person has an issue that he wants to report. It's waste that he wants to report. This is somebody that's in the cold phase, is looking at, this whole process happens on the phone, right? It's waste that they want to report, and then what's the problem? The problem becomes illegal dumping, ribuang horeng, mabitla, amaswe, komoseja, and then every saver that information, right? When we save this information, immediately an SMS is triggered. That's why a member of the community is in one of my own. An SMS is triggered. Maybe I should show you. An SMS is triggered, which will then go to the ward committee member, but it also go to a citizen, right? That says, so an illegal dumping system or a request has been logged. A community member an SMS, also it sends to the one that is logging the system, but it can actually send to as many people as we want in a particular workflow. We just took this as an example. But then what that does, then what we're able to do, all of us, you receive SMSs every day, somebody is selling you something. Then we are able to say, this problem is in Ward 9, right? And because illegal dumping has been logged, we are able to then go in a database, Ward 9, what are they? And then we send a message to say, listen people, we are aware that such a problem has been logged in Tlhakameng, be aware that we are resolving the issue. What has that just done? It has breached the gap that sits there as a communication mechanism between the municipality or between government and the citizens that are really sitting there. So these are means and ways, creative ways of dealing with with technology, it can work, whether ki Mahosi, it can work, whether it's your community development workers collecting data, the frames and the titles here can be as many, as different as it is. Now, let's assume that in conclusion, all of this has happened, right? And then somebody needs to go back and say, but what happened to the information? Where is it? We click go the reports. When you go to reports, it now shows you every incident that has been logged in that particular environment. Now, in instances where somebody's got already an existing contact center, in this instance, so you are able to, then we can take this file, push it more contact center, that agrees the contact center is able to manage, and we can use the same system as a reporting mechanism. This is just one way of showing that there are technologies that exist, that are available, that we can actually utilize for these purpose. It's one way of being creative with technology. So, yeah, let me not go beyond this, but in a simplistic way, there's technologies that are available that can help bridge the gap. We can reduce the number of service delivery protests that we have, because the communication via something simple called SMS can go to the particular individuals battling in that particular ward. Not everybody have to call back again. And then once we have a contractor appointed, we're able to say contractor appointed, but a contractor is coming to site, we keep our communities involved, we will really reduce the amount of challenges that we have. HOD, with those simple words, I wish to thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Lemabika. Kana lina ke Thapelo ne? Thapelo. You are very brave, my brother. I must tell you, you are very brave. Le mutlula ke are ene ke mo kanselara. Akere le itse mo kanselara. Are ke ene mo kanselara. Okay. Colleagues, we've got 2 presentations. Now we're going to ask questions on those 2 presentations. But let me just warn up front. Agere, you, in terms of MTN, please contextualize your questions. Don't ask for network MTN. We don't want those questions. You must contextualize your questions and be relevant to the presentations that were made. Okay, let me start again. But you remember the ground rules again? You remember the ground rules. For those who are not here, you ask your question directly, number 1. Number 2, if you happen to go out, when you come back, don't ask a question. Ask the person sitting next to you. Number 3, this is not a political meeting. Don't start with Amandla. Number 4, don't take advantage of the process of asking questions and make speeches. Thank you. Let's start. This side. Bishop, are you ready? Right. That side. Going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. No questions. You are happy. This side, going once. Negamaka. Going twice. Going thrice. Yeah, Arut. Arut,
thanks. Thanks, I'd like to ask a question to the Bishop. Since the ESA applications for water and sanitation are opened, and for smart cities, that is managed by BFI, National Treasury. I just want to check, by disclosing on the 14th of July, I just want to check that, are they also going to submit the applications or the one that they have for now is sufficient? Thanks.
All right. Bishop? Give the bishop the mic.
Yeah, we will get the update. If we need to add some information, we will reapply. But
Okay. Let's come this side. Yes, bro. The mic here. We need a mic here. So ndere kry-la motho wa rona wa di-mic di roller skate. Kgone go itlhaganela.
Just a short comment for, good morning, for MTN. I might have missed it in your introduction. Is yours the service, Mabitla Amaswe, is it zero rated? Or do people have to have data in their phones and SIM cards to be able to, for the app? Yes. Because I would assume that the people that need to complain about Mabitla Amaswe might not have enough connectivity. I come from a village, and there are many instances where I've got no connectivity. I can't call my mother because he's using your network. I would assume that if you want to entice the HOD to try and use your services, because I know that you're selling your packages to government, you must say to her, let me give you packages, but I'm going to give you the service zero rated as a market strategy. And I won't charge you for that. That's my comment to MTN. I missed yesterday's part. I only discovered last night through NHBRC that there is this summit happening in the Northwest today, and I had to jump in to come and observe and see what is happening. I must say that we are very slow as a country to embrace.
Political speech, ne?
I'm not a politician. I won't do that, sir.
Yeah, no,
with
please,
due
please.
respect.
Please.
I will never do that. We are very slow in embracing ABT. This thing has been there for many, many years. I've personally been involved in it since 2012. Government is frustratingly slow in accepting that this thing is there to stay. I had Bishop saying that we need to stay in a house that we give it to the people. This building itself, a bigger part of it is ABT. The head office of Discovery in Sandton is completely ABT. So it's been there for quite some time. It is the difficulty in government accepting that this thing is there. One, aesthetically it's more attractive to have an ABT. Two, it's easy to regulate temperature when you are in an ABT building. When it's cold, if you build with brick and mortar, you need a heater to heat the house. If you use ABT, it's possible to make it adapt to different temperatures so that it stores the different types of temperatures. When it's hot, then it regulates the temperature. With brick and mortar, it's not doing that. And the lifespan is the same. So it is our difficulty as a country to embrace the technology that is delaying us understanding that we can use it. My last comment is the interface with the private sector. Is the Northwest Provincial Government, what is the meeting point with the private sector? I would have been happy if you invited the banks here to come and say, we will finance the houses that have been built with ABT, because without that, it's always going to be very difficult. because we find that an engineer who works at a municipality has had his civil engineering education financed by, don't kill me, but Coral Brick, for an example. And he's always going to be biased towards Coral Brick because they financed him. He's always going to prescribe their product, and that pushes you out. As you know, that pushes innovation out of the window. Those are the difficulties that we've been facing in this country. Thank you.
I'm going for the last part. I'm going to leave your response to the HOD. You're not, I know you are commenting, but I will leave it to the HOD. When she closes. This side, going once, afterthought, any afterthought? Going twice? Going thrice? This side. I give it fair. I give it fair. Reflect on what you put on. Both are of the shoe. This side, any afterthought? Any afterthought? Going once? Going twice? Going thrice? Thank you, HOD.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe just to take a minute to respond to the last question and comment. The interface between government and private sector. I think this summit in itself demonstrates that existence of an interface between government and private sector. We have private companies here, we have government entities also in this particular place. Yesterday, part of what happened after the presentations on ABTs, after investors also made presentations, we signed several MOUs. I think about 5 MOUs were signed with the private sector, which is willing to invest in government. In terms of banks and financing of ABT, most of these ABTs, even in their presentations, will tell you that I am being financed by APSA, I'm being financed by this particular bank, and so on. So banks are also buying into it, especially because these ABTs go through rigorous testings and certifications. So, for example, some of the presentations yesterday reflected various banks that already support the ABT. Also, in terms of government, you have NHFC as an entity of government that is in the space of financing construction-related issues. So we are safe. That interface exists, and it is very, very strong. Let me, ladies and gentlemen, because the other two presenters, I established that DWS is here, but not to make a presentation. I think there was a communication breakdown within the department, but we thank them for being here, and we will then close our session and close the summit. I am not the SALGA chairperson. Councillor Molefe is not here because of the political engagements that they all are in right now. So I will take this opportunity ki ipagolele mogodu ba gaetsho ba ba nkutlwang sentle ki ipagollela mogodu ke tsena mo ditlhakong tseo tsa ga Councillor Molefe, ke ntse ke se mo Councillor Repetlo. To take this opportunity to thank everybody who took their time to be here for the 2 days or 1.5 days to make contributions towards assisting us as a department in trying to achieve the service delivery and delivery of housing and human settlements to the communities of Northwest. We had embassies represented from the Russian embassy, the Turkish embassy were here yesterday, and we also have our Netherlands friends who were here yesterday. They are already in partnership. We've signed an MOU with them as well. In this conference, we had the National Department of Human Settlements. We had the national entities. I saw the HDA CEO, and I know other entities were also represented here. Re ne re na le magosi a rona ba gaetso maaparang kwebeng ba mmu ba re tshegofaditse bile ba santse ba le teng. Re a leboga ka gonne ha re aga matlo a ba gaetso re dira ditlhabololo tse re di dira mo lefatsheng la bona. Yaanong re bone go le botlhokwa gore e nne bona bangwe ba tsaya karolo mo tiragalong e ya rona ya malatsi a mabedi. We also had MECs from various departments. Yesterday here we had the MEC from DDEC, MEC from Finance, MEC from Public Works and Roads, and the MEC from Education. They were here, they participated in this summit. We had executive mayors and mayors from various municipalities, MMCs in housing, MMs and technical staff from municipalities. We had various provincial departments. KZN was here yesterday, and we had our colleagues from the province represented in the form of HODs as well as representatives of departments. We had the military vets. They were here, they presented our generals, and they are adding value to this human settlement delivery of services. We had business representatives, we had contractors, we had IBT, ABT, exhibitors and solution providers. We had institutions of learning. We had government officials. We had media houses. We had My Arts, who played a major role in facilitating between us and potential investors and various ABT, IBT providers. Sun City was hospitable enough to allow us space and time to use this facility, and there were other service providers that we engaged. I'd like to thank all of you, in particular the organizing team. I know they went through a rough patch. It was not an easy event to organize. Time was limited. There were financial issues, but you pulled it through and it was a success. I'd like to also especially thank those institutions that signed MOUs with the department, the partnerships that were arranged yesterday with municipalities, including the commitment that most of the municipalities demonstrated. We had other mayors availing their landfills for those projects of changing or converting waste to energy, to partner with Hitachi, Zoshen, Innova. We know that there are other municipalities who were immediately allocated ABT to pilot in their municipalities, including Madibeng, JV Max, Moses Kotane, some local authorities who received the units that were pledged by various businesses yesterday. I believe this summit was a real success. The objectives that we had were achieved, and this summit also, ladies and gentlemen, marks the beginning of a journey that we will take as a department with all of you as partners, so that together we can improve the human settlement environment in the Northwest. So we believe that having started this journey, the engagements will continue, activities will start in earnest. All those who committed to donate houses, MEC said this week, because they are ABT, by the 5th of June, we will be beginning to start opening or visiting the sites where these units will be built. You have added so much value, and as a department, we really appreciate your contribution, and we are looking forward to continuously working with you. I believe this is just the beginning of a great journey that we will take together. Thank you, and as you journey back home, drive safely. Lunch is ready, I'm told, and after you have taken your lunch, spend some time in the exhibition hall. The exhibitions are still ongoing, so that if you missed something yesterday, today is still an opportunity to interact with the exhibitors. Thank you very much. And in conclusion, the staff of COCTA, please wait behind. We have a brief assignment by MEC that we have to conclude before we journey home. Thank you. God bless you.